So Sheila, please introduce yourself. Tell us who you are and why it is that we're talking to you today.
Okay, so I would say that Sheila is, I think I'm a person that my role is basically to just make a difference to people.
Right.
Uh, and the way I make a difference to people is really tapping on their strengths to get the best out of them.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I get that opportunity, whether it's in the workplace or in my personal life.
Right.
But the intention is really to pick out what people are strong at, what their strengths are, and then to make them even better.
Okay, so that's your work as a HR practitioner.
Yes. So as a HR practitioner, obviously that comes in very strongly because I identify talent, I develop talent.
Yes.
I help them to add value to themselves and to the organization.
Yes.
And just to grow themselves as individuals,
right?
In terms of their personal but professional careers as well.
Yes.
When I look at it also from a personal perspective, it allows me then to start engaging with people within the community, using the very same skills that I use in the workplace.
Yes. So you can see how work is not just work. We take work and we apply work everywhere, but we also take our other lives and we apply at work. So in fact, as a HR practitioner, it becomes very handy for you then, because you then recognize you're not just employing resumes, you're not just dealing with resumes, you're dealing with people who are a product of all aspects of their lives. And if you remember, when we worked together, I had a dashboard for you that had all aspects of life. I'm sure that must have come as a surprise that I was going to talk about everything else, not just your career.
And it's true, because that's how now I see myself. Before that time, I only saw myself as a HR manager.
Right.
I saw myself. So what I'm saying is, you actually did help me to start looking at myself differently.
Yes.
I started looking at myself in all spheres.
Right.
And then started seeing what I have and how it starts adding value holistically.
Yes.
Before I saw myself, in fact, before, if you ask me, so tell us about Sheila, I would be saying I'm a HR manager. I work for ADA. It was very narrow. But today I don't see myself that way. I see myself as somebody who has something to offer beyond just my role.
In an organization, because that organization is just where you work now. It doesn't begin to define who you were.
Mm-hmm.
Very true. You realize how many people are still there.
Very many. Actually, this week we've been having conversations around, we are reorganizing. And there are people that we are talking to and saying that, their roles no longer exist.
Yes.
And you can actually see shock. They've been there 20, 30 years, and they're surprised. But I guess it's because they haven't seen what they can be beyond just a job.
Yes.
They are the job, and the job is them. That's what it is.
That's why a lot of people, when they resign or when they're restructured, right? Restructuring, re-engineering, reorganization, whatever you HR people call letting people off. Yes. When that happens to a lot of people, most people go into depression.
Absolutely.
And it's because they don't recognize themselves beyond their roles. How did working with me as your coach help you see yourself differently? Because for a lot of people, their work describes them, as you just put it. Their work describes them, and they describe their work as themselves.
It's an interesting thing. Whenever I think back, I'm like, okay, I saw myself in a very narrow way. As long as I woke up in the morning, I had a routine. My routine was wake up, go to the office, work, come home, shower, eat, and sleep. That was my life.
Uh-huh.
So I never sat to ask myself, what are my objectives in a holistic manner?
Yes.
How do I look at my total life and get satisfaction in all aspects? It was a foreign thing. You actually introduced that, and I use it up to today. And so when I speak to other people and I say, no, you need to think about yourself like this,
Yes.
They think I'm very intelligent.
Well, you are. Come on.
Well, it was not my thoughts, but now I practice it.
Be careful. I might send you another invoice, Sheila. At this rate, be careful. I might send you another invoice.
I know.
So tell me, what would you say was the benefit of the process of working with me as your coach? I know it's not an easy process. You know, most people think about coaching and they're fearful of the feedback that's going to come, because inevitably coaching comes with some criticism in the name of feedback. Whichever way you clothe and package feedback, it is feedback and it's hard to receive. You know, and looking at how we work together, knowing my personality, I don't exactly sugarcoat things very well. You know, it's just not my style, it's not my personality. And this is something most people worry about when going into coaching processes, because some criticism is going to come. Now, depending on the personality of the coach, it could be punchy or it could be nice. Whichever way it is criticism. How did that work out for you?
Well, it took me some time to adjust, but I think one of the things I have been gifted at is really learning that feedback in itself is a gift.
That's right.
And it has really helped me to be who I am over the years, because I happen to have grown up with a parent that was very forthright, was very strict and all that.
Yes.
But still, having said that, after coming from the wings of a parent and becoming an adult, I didn't experience it again. So for a while, when I started working with you, it was a bit of a shock. I felt like I've gone back to my younger days. When I get very hard feedback, because other people tend to package it, and sometimes package it until you lose the meaning.
There you go.
Yes. So initially it was a bit of a shocker. Then I quickly adjusted to it, and I realized that I was growing by having that feedback. Every week we interacted, I was not what I was the previous week.
Well,
and even when I went back to the workplace, everybody could see it.
Wow.
So it was an encouragement. Every week I was a different person.
Yes.
The things that were stifling me before started becoming non-issues.
Yes.
Then I realized, okay, it's painful, it's difficult, but it's making a difference.
Yeah. It's, the decision to go into coaching is, something that people do when you find yourself between a rock and a hard place, and you realize this doesn't have to be the way of life, because other people, I see them doing better, feeling better, looking better, going farther than I'm doing. And I don't see what I'm doing right now that can help me do the same or better. So what is it that I'm going to do? And then coaching becomes the option. And then you realize, okay, it's not an easy process, and it's definitely not for the faint-hearted. But when you look at the benefit, and this is one of the things that we were looking at, looking at the end in mind, what is the result that we're looking at the end of the day? So the process becomes a non-issue, however difficult it may be, because we are also looking at things that you've ignored, you've let go, you've not even thought about in some instances. So going back in some situations, or going deeper into situations, analyzing things that may be uncomfortable, obviously is not going to be easy for everybody. But hey, good to know that it went well. What would you say was your benefit out of all this in all aspects of your life?
So one, I think, is being intentional. I started being intentional about everything I did. Before that, I just did. As I told you, I would wake up and just flow with the day.
Yes.
But then I started being very intentional, and I started asking myself, in all aspects of my life, what's going on?
Yes.
And what are my plans, and what are my initiatives? And that's what I've been for the last many years since our coaching with you. I'm just a very different person. I'm very intentional. There were things that I was uncomfortable about, and I would let them lie. Let sleeping dogs lie.
Yes, yes.
I don't do that anymore. I take them in stride. I deal with them. So people describe me very differently. In fact, it's interesting. Today we were having a conversation with one of my stakeholders.
Yes.
And when he picked the phone, the first thing he said is, Sheila, are you in a good mood? I said, of course, I'm always in a good mood. Then he said, yes, it's true. You're always in a good mood, but you can pass very difficult messages even in the good mood. I said, really? Then he said, yes, you can start telling us, no, look at that curve, look at that what.
Yeah.
That's not going to be acceptable. And, he's a pretty senior executive. Then I thought to myself, then I've grown. That's not what people would have been describing a few years ago.
That's right. Because,
Yes.
When you start becoming intentional, you don't just do things for the sake of doing things, checking boxes on a daily basis. I was supposed to do this, you have this little to-do list and you're going checking those without necessarily thinking through each of them and thinking how they interlink with other aspects of your life, other aspects of the organization, other aspects of people's lives. But when you start looking at things from an intentional point, it definitely has a different effect on how you look at everything in the first place. So sounds like some good progress, and I can't take all the credit. I don't coach you unless you let me. You know that. I don't coach you unless you let me. First and foremost, you have to come, right? You have to come, and you have to make the decision to come and to pay me for that, and a lot of times when my customers work with me, they think that I'm working with them and I'm coaching them. That's not always the case. Every client I work with, I learn something different about people. When we talk about experience, being coached is not just about the coach giving information. The coach is also receiving a lot of information, a lot of perspectives about the different people that they work with, the demographics, the situations playing out in the background with those clients that she works with. So I have to tell you that with each coaching client, and you in particular, it was also a very enlightening experience for me, because I had to realize, okay, so there are people I work with and they come from this place where they already know some things and they're comfortable, they're confident knowing that, yes, feedback can be given in this way. And others come and the feedback you have to package the feedback differently. Even if you know that it's going to be useful, you have to package it differently. But at the same time, it also helped me understand that, yes, your feedback may be punchy, but if the client is coming back, and not because they're paid, if the client is coming back, but with feedback about what feedback they have received because of the work they're doing with you, then your feedback, punchy as it may be, is serving the purpose that it's meant to serve.
Absolutely. Absolutely, yes.
Okay. I really appreciate that. That's good feedback for me, and I can't tell you, it's humbling. In many instances, it's humbling. I know that every time I work with people, yes, I'm going to change their lives in one way or another, but it's also humbling just to hear it's been many years and it's still continuing to date, and you yourself are now getting feedback because of the person that you've become. That's just amazing. What do you say to those who are thinking of working with Seraphine at this point in time? She's still that same punchy coach, probably even more punchy now. Probably more punchy now,
I would say be ready.
Yes.
Be open.
Yes.
And be resilient, because you're going to get some really tough stuff. But then you know what? You'll come out definitely much better.
Thank you so much, Sheila. I appreciate your time. I really appreciate your time. Now we need to talk about you becoming the coach. You know that?
Yes.
Now we need to talk, yeah, because I'm listening to you and you're telling me that you're also giving this feedback and you're talking to people in ways that go beyond what your role is. It sounds to me like there's a coach in the making there. Okay.
I do a lot of that now, but internally in the organization, yes.
Okay. Maybe we need to package it right now. We need to package it and have it become a different source of income.